being able to turn a Plastilene group into a family. Let's forget about worker or operator or office worker or salesperson. Everybody is a collaborator and just one purpose, which is Plastilene. I know, Antonio, that you know I am a YouTuber about recycling and recyclovers, and I am really concerned about giving visibility to this guild. I would like to know for you to tell me how important waste pickers are for Grupo Plastilene. Waste pickers are extremely important. Waste pickers are the ones that clean. No, no, no. They are. Those are the ones that recycle what we make dirty. That is something that we need to take good care of. To me, it is a big satisfaction to be able to collaborate with the waste pickers or for the waste pickers to collaborate with us. Today, waste pickers are part of the raw material of a section of Grupo Plastilene, which is very modern and very important. Please tell me, what is the message that you would like to send today to all the people that are looking? First of all, I would like to apologize because this is a modern thing. I don't know how to use these technical things. So I don't know how to use the computer on the screen. The problem is not the problem of the computer, but in my head. But there's nothing I can do. I'm 92. Thank you all very much. For those of you who have been patient enough to listen to me during this time, and the only thing I would like to do is thank you all the Grupo Plastilene, all the collaborators at Plastilene for what we all have achieved. And thank you, Marcela, and all the waste pickers that are not just the waste pickers, they're not just picking waste. They pick raw material, the raw material that we are trying to reuse. Everybody, thank you very much. Thank you very much. All the collaborators at Plastilene that have been able to create such a nice company. Don Antonio, thank you very much for being that invaluable leader because thanks to you, we are all together here, and I'm going to talk about carbon neutral, circular economy, and all the processes that you're innovating. That is all thanks to your vision and your dedication and devotion. I would like to thank you for your time and for being here. I am really honored to be here with you. I know everybody wants to hug you. We can't, unfortunately. Thank God we have technology. And I would like to thank you for creating this project, for thinking and creating a past consumption plant, which is so important for circular economy and sustainability, and also for actually seeing the importance of waste pickers. I know I was told that you brought recyclovers to the plant for them to look at the process and see how important the work is. So I think this is really very important. I would like to congratulate you. And I think circular economy needs leaders such as you for everybody to understand that we are a significant link of the chain. Don Antonio, you're so beautiful. We love you so much. Grazie, as you would say in Italy. And to all of you who were there listening and watching this interview, thank you for not falling asleep. Thank you for paying attention. And our hearts will bring these teachings to have sustainability in each of our actions, from dividing our ways, being aware of what we consume, because as Don Antonio says, everybody is important. The ones that produce the material, the ones that buy it, the ones that pick it. It is just a circular economy that depends on all of us too. So, my recyclovers, thank you for being here. Continue to listen to everything because today is going to be a very cool day, an important day for all the Grupo Plastilene. Big kisses and hugs. I love you very much. Bye, my recyclovers. I love you all. Well. would like to ask the
trabajos
representatives of the
por
work
favor,
teams and the
todos,
commitments to
aquí
come
estamos.
here. Please come up here.
Fabián,
Fabian,
Mauricio, Joana,
Mauricio, Joana,
Rodrigo.
Rodrigo. We
¿De qué
want to
hemos
do
logrado
a reflection of what we have achieved today
y
and
de qué más viene?
what else is coming.
¿Cómo podemos entre todos
How we
seguir
can
sacando este reto de
together
la economía circular adelante?
move this circular economy
Vamos a hablar de
challenge
esos cuatro compromisos
forward. We're going
que
to
hemos
talk
hecho.
about the four commitments
El
that we have:
compromiso de la
the
economía
commitment
circular, el
for
compromiso de
circular
portafolio,
economy, the
el
portfolio
compromiso
commitment,
social
the
y el compromiso
social
ambiental.
commitment, and the
Y
environmental
tenemos
commitment.
a
And we have
colaboradores del Grupo Plastilene que nos
collaborators
acompañan
of
para hacer esa
Grupo
reflexión.
Plastilene here to
Entonces,
help
le
us
doy la
talk
palabra
about that.
a
So I'm going
Fabián
to give the floor to Fabián
para que hablemos del
to talk
compromiso
about
circular y
the
cómo hemos vivido esa
circular economy
historia
and how we've
gracias al
lived that
post-portfolio.
story of the
Buenos días para todos.
post-consumption.
Ricardo, para los que no me conocen, mi
Good
nombre es
morning,
Fabián Forero.
everyone. My name
Soy el
is
director
Fabian
del Orden
Forero.
Cultural Reciclene.
I am the
Tengo a
Reciclene
cargo las
Manufacturing
operaciones en
Director. I
Planta
am in
1
charge of
y de
Plant
Planta
1
2.
and
Como todos
Plant 2.
conocen, Planta 1 es donde
As you know,
elaboramos los
Plant 1
compuestos,
is where
los
we put
aditivos
together
y
the
hacemos la
additives, the
recuperación
compounds, and
postindustrial.
where we do the
Y
post-industrial
la
recovery.
Planta 2,
And the
que es la parte
Plant
de
2,
recuperación
which is the
post-consumo, como lo decía
post-consumption
don Antonio,
recovery plant,
es de
as
las
Mr.
plantas
Antonio
más
said.
importantes que tenemos
It
en el
is one of
país
the
para
most
recuperar
important plants we
materiales
have in the country
plásticos,
to
tanto
recover
rígidos como flexibles.
flexible and
Es una
flexible
planta
plastic
que
materials.
ha
This is a
sido
plant that
gratificante,
has
altamente
brought us
gratificante, pero a su vez
many good things. It's been
altamente
very
compleja,
gratifying, but
mucho más
as it is
compleja de
gratifying,
lo que
it is
teníamos
complex,
presupuestado
much more
inicialmente.
complex than what
Les
we
voy
expected
a
at the
contar y hacer
beginning.
un zoom un poquitico
So
los
I'm
temas
going to
muy
zoom
gratificantes
in
de esta planta y
the
dejarlo ver esta
gratifying
planta
aspects of
a la línea
the
de
plant's
economía circular,
input
principalmente
for
al tema de
Colombia
CRS.
Circular,
Es muy
particularly in the
gratificante, como lo
um,
veíamos en el video, poder tener la posibilidad
closed loop.
de capacitar
It
a
was
todos los
important to
recicladores
be
que
able to
actualmente son
train
nuestros
all
socios y
the
que nos permiten
recyclers
darle
who are
valor
our
al material
partners
post-consumo.
who give value to
Ese
the
valor que nosotros
post-consumption
queremos brindarle a ese
material.
material
The
es
value we want to give
posible
to that
gracias al
material is
trabajo que ellos
possible
vienen
thanks to
haciendo
the work
con la
that they have
organización,
been doing
gracias
with
al
the
que ellos han
organization.
permitido que nosotros podamos
We
capacitarlos
have
para que cada
been
día
able
más
to train
tengamos
them
un material
so that
mejor
we have
seleccionado, mejor
better
clasificado,
selected,
que nos
better
llegue a nuestra manos
classified
un material que
material.
tenga mejores
Much that
efectos.
is the gratifying
Pero,
part
¿qué nos hemos
of this
encontrado
point.
y que ha
But
generado que haya sido
what
tan
have we
complejo,
found
como lo
and
decía
why
Esteban?
is it so
Y cuando
complex?
empezamos a pensar en este proceso que
When we started
empezamos en
thinking about this
10.000
process,
toneladas año,
we were thinking
12.000
about
toneladas año,
10,000 tons
hoy en día
per
tal vez estamos
year.
sobre las 4.000
Um,
toneladas. Pero ¿qué es
Today
lo que
we
lo
are
hace
at
tan
4,000,
complejo?
not
Pues
correctly
la comunicación que
classifying
está
from
llegando
home.
a los hogares no ha sido lo más eficiente como nosotros quisiéramos.
Households
Y
have
esa
not been as
falta de
efficient as we
comunicación
wish.
y
There is a
falta de
lack of
aporte a
communication.
que nosotros
There
podamos
is a lack
separar
of
de la
input.
casa el material que
We should
podemos
be able
llegar
to
a de valor,
separate
del
at
material que podemos
home
llegar a meter en un compostaje
so that we can put
industrial
in
o
an
hacer que se
industrial
debe ir
compost
realmente
the
a un relleno
material
sanitario.
that should
En
go
ese
there
impulso
and the
que nosotros
material that
empecemos a
should
formar,
go
eso
to a
ayudaría mucho
landfill.
a que la planta de
So
postconsumo cada
the
vez pueda
post-consumption
tener una mayor
plant
eficiencia, que es lo que queremos
more
buscar, de saber
efficient.
que hoy
It
se
is
invierta el
gratifying
máximo
to
posible
know
valor de
that
ese material. Que
we
antes cuando
know
uno
the value of that
hablaba con los
material.
recolectores en la calle les
When we
decían,
used to
ustedes
talk
están
to
recogiendo usted rígido,
the waste
¿por qué le dan
pickers,
valor al rígido y al
um,
flexible no?
we would ask
Ellos
them,
decían,
why
no, es
do
que el
you give
flexible
preference to
pues
the
se pana también, o es que
rigid
el flexible es muy
material?
difícil de
What's
seleccionar.
wrong with the
Y es
flexible
otro de los temas
one?
críticos,
Well,
la
flexible
cantidad
material doesn't
de
pay as
polimateriales
well.
que tenemos
Um,
en el
well, we
momento
have
de
so many
poder seleccionar un material
polymaterials
flexible. Al
when
querer
it comes to
separar un material
selecting a
flexible, y ese era
material
otro de
that
los
is
temas
useful.
críticos que hemos tenido nosotros,
One of
nos
the most
encontramos con
critical
laminaciones
problems
con papel,
we find is that
laminaciones con PVC,
there is plastic that is
laminaciones con
laminated
PET.
with PVC,
Esto nos
with paper,
dificulta en
and
gran
this
medida el proceso que estamos queriendo
makes
hacer en
our
la planta.
process
Por
more
eso la gente
difficult.
diría, un
That
tema de
is why
recuperación a nivel
people say that a
post-consumo de
recovery
líquidos es tan
topic
similar como
regarding
hacer algo de flexible.
post-consumption of
Ahí lo podemos decir hoy
liquids,
en día con toda la certeza. No,
now we can
no
say
es tan similar,
no.
no es tan igual. Hay
It's not the
muchas
same.
variables que
There are
generan que
many
este material
variables
sea tan
which
complejo y eso es lo que nos ha
lead
generado
this
no
material
llegar a
to be
esas
so
12.000
complex, and
toneladas
that's
que nos
why we
planteamos
have
inicialmente.
not
Pero estamos
reached
trabajando
those
cada vez más
12,000.
para poder llegar
tons, but we're working on it. We want to get to 10,000 tons per year. We have several challenges and we are overcoming one by one. But today we can tell you with certainty that we do have a material with consistent homogeneous um, specs which are being used in the industry in injection and in one of the most complex processes, which is blow fill, um, with very high quality levels. And we are working so that material with that degree of specs and the properties that we can measure and that we can guarantee our clients that it is a homogeneous material and that this can be food packaging. Universities abroad are supporting us so that at some point we can change the chip of not using recovered material because it doesn't look like it's good quality or that there is a different color in the film. Um, we have many allies. We're going to talk about those allies, and they have allowed us to show that it can be done, that it can be done in repackaging, in secondary packaging, or packaging that doesn't come in touch with food. But we are doing the exercise so that in a short while we can do it for food packaging. I think there we have told you what we have gone through. Like I said at the beginning, it's been highly gratifying, but also highly complex.
Muchas gracias, Fabián. Fabián no les contó,
Thank you, Fabian.
pero
Fabian
a
didn't tell
nosotros nos
you,
contaba
but he
que
has
al
told
principio le
us
llegaban
that at the
gatos,
beginning
le llegaban
he would get
ropa, le llegaban prenda
clothing,
interiores, entre todo el plástico
underwear
para recuperar.
within
Y
the
ha sido todo un
plastic
proceso
to
de
be recovered.
capacitación, un
So
proceso de desarrollo tecnológico,
there has
un
been
proceso de
a
ir optimizando
technological
y
and
trabajando en
training
equipo
program.
para poder
He's
perfeccionar
been
esa cadena.
optimizing so that he
Y
can
tener
perfect
hoy en el
that
mercado
supply chain.
una línea de resinas de
Now
ciclolén.
there is a line of
Ciclolén es una
resins
línea de
called
resinas post-consumo
cycloline. This is a
de
post-consumption
diferentes
product
orígenes.
from
Puede ser
different
post-consumo
sources. It can
industrial,
be
post-consumo comercial,
industrial,
post-consumo grande
commercial,
y que tiene
or
aplicaciones
home
como las que Fabián mencionó.
post-consumption, and it
¿Qué
can be
tenemos ya
used as
resinas post-consumo
Fabian
aplicadas
mentioned.
en
We have
alimentos?
post-consumption resins that are
Fabiana nos
applied
va a
to
contar un poco más del
foods.
tema
We will
en
hear
Ritmo
about
Ritmo,
that
pero esto es algo que
further,
queremos que se
but that
lleven
is
ustedes
something that we
en la
want you to
cabeza.
take with you.
Tenemos unas líneas
We have
de resinas recuperadas post-consumo con
recovered
sello
post-consumption resin
certificado de contenido de
products
recuperados
with a
del ICPC
recovered
y ya
seal
reglamentaron a
and
unos colaboradores
certificate.
en este tema
And I
que
would
son
like
unos
to
artesanos
mention
y con los que
a
estamos
few
trabajando para llegar mucho más allá. Entonces, esas resinas ya
people
se
who
encuentran
are helping
también
us to
de lo que
get there.
trabajamos en Plastilene, de lo que trabajamos en
That's
Alcanene,
why we
nosotros en
work in
calidad de grupo, y
Plastilene,
que comercializamos con
and
otros
that we
clientes de
market with
Resiclen
other
para tener una economía
clients from
circular
Recycling
en
to have
partes
a
de líquidos a líquidos,
circular
plástico a
technology,
plástico
package to
y
package,
evitar que se
plastic
tiren
to plastic,
a
so
otros
that
destinos que no son los que queremos en
the
ecosistemas.
plastic doesn't go
Invito
to
ahorita
our
entonces a
ecosystem.
Rodrigo y a Joana, no sé Luisa si tenemos
Rodrigo,
alguna
Joanna,
pregunta
Luisa, do we have a question?
para que hablemos del compromiso de portafolio
So
sostenible.
let's talk about the sustainable
Bueno, muy buenos días para
commitment
todos. Nuevamente,
portfolio.
muchas gracias por acompañarnos en esta
Again, thank you for being
siguiendo
here.
dentro del marco de lo que es la
In
presentación
following the framework
de
of the
este fabuloso
presentation,
estudio
as Stefano
estadística
said, this is not to
ibérica
present
neoesclásica, sino es
statistics.
un poco de la... Listo, perfecto. Queremos más bien compartir con
We
ustedes lo
want
que es nuestra
to
experiencia, una
share
evolución
the
en un trabajo que
the
empezamos
experience, the
hace 40 años
evolution.
como filosofía de
Uh,
empresa, pero
when we
los
started
últimos
40
4
years
años
ago, but in the
viene
past four
gestándose paso a
years,
paso
we've been
hacia una
seeing the
economía
step by step
sostenible
to go
en el
towards a
capítulo de los
sustainable
portafolios
economy
de
in the
productos sostenibles. El
portfolio
capítulo es inmenso, podríamos
chapter.
hablar horas
The
de este
chapter
tema,
is
pero
huge,
queremos centrarnos
but we
en
want to
4 variables.
focus on four
Y
important
los invito ahora
variables.
más con una
I would
reflexión
like
de
you to
evolución de un proceso
reflect upon
o
this because
definición
this
de
is
un
not only
compromiso
a process
sólido.
evolution, we do
Muchas
have a
ustedes, y
deep
muchísimas gracias a
commitment.
algunos de los clientes que han venido a
Thank you to
acompañarnos
some of the
específicamente
clients
en
that
varios de los eventos.
came
Hemos tenido
Today, we've had sessions where we talk about the portfolio. I remember that 4 years ago, we said we're going to put this material through the recycler so that we can have post-consumption household products. And this has been a learning experience that has led us to concrete results, concrete actions. So let's focus on the actions and the commitments that have come true. Joanna and I are going to talk about four elements in a nutshell. We're going to talk about recycling, and Joanna is going to tell us about reuse of material. So the idea has been as follows. We focus our efforts towards processes that can represent concrete actions. Let's talk about reduction. Many of you have talked to me during the past 20 years about down gauging, and this has been in terms to of avoiding uh, idle times or losing production. If you see the evolution of reduction, this is not about lowering the gauge, and this is about
Y
consumption.
alrededor
And
de ese
around
cambio,
that
que
change,
era, no toco mi
where I
proceso
said
productivo
I
para
don't
no
touch
encajar el
my
producto o
productive
el empaque,
process so that I don't
a
impact the
la
packaging.
conciencia de
Now
necesito
we
consumir
go
menos
to
para
the
empacar y
awareness that
transportar
I
la
need to
misma cantidad de
consume less
contenido,
to
traducción de lo
transport the
mismo
same
daños
amount of
sin comercial.
material. And the
Les doy
evolution for the
ejemplos
past 2 years
concretos.
has been
En el sector de
amazing.
la leche,
Let me
por
give you
ejemplo, nosotros
concrete
hace
examples.
3 años
In the
manejábamos
milk
pastillas de
sector,
2.5 milésimas de
we
pulgada.
had a
Hoy 2.8
3.5
milésimas de pulgada es un calibre comercial. Este tema era
for the
impensable
carton, and now we
hace 3
went to
años.
2.8.
Hoy
This
es
was
una realidad.
unthinkable 3 years
Pero es
ago,
una
but this
realidad
is a reality.
por
This is a
urgencia y
reality
compromiso de utilizar
because
menos material
we
de
are
empaque,
committed to
donde
using
se
less
junta la
packaging
cadena de
material,
productores, de
where
proveedores,
the
perdón, donde sigue la
suppliers
misma
chain
generación,
get together
el
with
conocimiento de la
um,
fábrica como Plastilene,
high
como las fábricas del
technology
grupo
resins
Plastilene,
and
tecnologías
with
y de conocimiento
Plastilene
humano y técnico
and the human
para
and
producir
technical
cápsulas que
knowledge,
las mismas máquinas
then we can
empacadores
produce
no tienen problemas
film
de
that in
desempeño
the
y
packaging
contribuyen mecánicamente.
factories don't have any problem with
Importante,
performance. So this is
muchos de los
important.
clientes hoy
Many of the
tienen
customers we have
conciencia
today
y estrategia
are
alrededor
aware
de
and have a
reducir el consumo
strategy
de
to
materiales primas.
reduce
Eso es
the
importantísimo.
consumption of these
Segundo
products.
punto,
Second
el
point,
grupo Plastilene. Hace
Plastilene. I would add that one project leads to the other. So this can be material that can be called monomaterial so that we can reduce barrier material at levels that we never thought were possible.
Estefano, cuando hablamos de
And
evolución,
Stefano,
yo
when
creo
we
que lo
talk about
interesante
evolution, the
en los últimos
important thing
dos
about
años
this
ha
chapter
sido
in the
precisamente
past two
eso, es
years has
salir un
been
poco de las
exactly that,
relatividades,
to get
resistencia al cambio,
away from the theory
al
and the
logro de los
resistance to
materiales, pero sobre
change
todo al
to
logro de la utilización
achieve
por parte
materials
de las
and to be
compañías que
able to
utilizan
use them
empaques. Entonces, hilando
with
con lo que
companies
dice,
that use
Estefano,
packaging.
es
And going with
pasamos
what
de
Stefano said,
productos de menor
we
calibre
go
a
from
diseños de
lower
productos
gauge
con
products
tecnologías
to
aplicadas para
uh,
reducciones de densidad.
technologies applied to
Muchas de
reduce
las máquinas
density.
nuestros
So
no
many
resisten una
of the
reducción de calibre,
equipment
o por
our
edad, o por
customers have do
tecnología, o
not
porque se quiera
resist
hacer de
that
un tipo
type
de
of
sello. Existen
gauge or
tecnologías hoy
because of the
aplicadas por
seal
el
type.
mismo
We
para
have
lograr que el
technologies
mismo
today so
calibre
that the
pese
same
menos por
gauge
unidad empacada.
weighs
Y
less per
nuevamente nacen
packaged
tecnologías
unit.
que
And
aportan de
now we
forma
have
directa
technologies that
reducción en el consumo,
reduce
optimización del costo de la
consumption,
unidad empacada y
optimize
al
the
final de
cost
la
of the
línea el
packaged
aporte en esa
unit,
contribución
and at the
sostenible
end of the
que
line,
técnicamente estamos
that
buscando.
we are being
Tercero,
sustainable.
nacen
Third,
claros diseños de
there are
productos
clear
en
designs
estructuras
of
monomateriales, como
products
lo
in
mencionó Estefano,
monomaterial structures,
donde
as Stefano
típicamente
mentioned,
estructuras con
where we
polietileno,
typically with
polipropileno PET o con
polyethylene,
aluminio o con metalizaciones se empiezan
metal
a gestar
packagings, all
desarrollos
of
de
those
monomateriales, por ejemplo, dos
leading
polietilenos
to
o con
monomaterial
barreras
to
que no afecten
polyethylene
la
or with
receptividad del
barriers that do
material
not
o con
affect
menos
the
utilización
receptivity
física
of the
que
material
claramente
or with less
evolucionan
ink, which
hacia
clearly
productos de
evolve
mayor
towards
reciclabilidad o fácil reciclabilidad.
products that
Entonces,
are
miren
easier
ustedes
to
cómo
recycle.
la
So
acción lleva a
let's see
pensar
how
de lo que
this
es posible,
action
de lo
leads
que
us to
requiere, a
think
la
what
acción
is
de
possible,
diseñarlo
and we
y
go
ejecutarlo y poderlo
to
comercializar.
designing it,
Importante que ese
executing
recorrido lo
it,
hemos logrado de la
and
mano de
marketing the
los
product.
clientes,
We have done this
asociado
hand
a
in
sus
hand with the
estrategias y
customers,
asociado a sus
associated to their
planes de
strategies,
reducción de
to
consumo
their
y de
consumption
sostenibilidad.
reduction plans, and the sustainable
Podríamos dar
strategy.
bastantes más ejemplos, pero
We could give you many more examples,
Pasa la
but
siguiente
I would
escena
like to talk about
significativa,
the
que
next
es la
topic,
utilización de
and that
materiales
is the use of
provenientes de
materials,
incorporación
as
de
Fabian
materiales
said, to
recuperados en las
incorporate
películas.
recovered
Podemos hablar de
material
ellas en
in the
breve, es un
films.
tema
We
muy
could
interesante.
discuss this for a week.
Concretamente,
This is
queremos
very
contarles
interesting.
hoy
We
que en los
want to
últimos
tell
dos
you that
años,
during the
en
past
compañías
two
como
years,
Altalene,
with
como
companies such
Perú
as
Kims y
Altalene,
Guatemala,
Chemo Kims in
Plastilene en Brasil,
Guatemala,
en Colombia, para
Plastilene,
mencionar
and
algunos
Novalin in
ejemplos,
Colombia, just to name
hoy
a
es
few,
una realidad comercial
this is a
en el que
commercial
empaques y embalajes que
reality
operan
that
en líneas de
the
altísima
packaging that
velocidad
are
tenemos
operated in
incorporación de un
high-speed
10% de
lines,
materiales
there's an
consumibles ecológicos.
incorporation of
Tenemos
10%
materiales con el
material. We have
30%
materials with
recuperados, tenemos
30%
materiales con el
recovered
60%
material.
y
We have
materiales
materials with
con
60%
bolsas de alta
recovered
densidad y
materials,
películas de PET con
and we have
100% de material
uh,
recuperado.
PEP
Hoy
films
miramos
with
atrás
100%
2 o
recovered
3 años,
material. So
podemos
when we look
contarles que
back,
hay una
we can
evolución
tell you that there is
continua
a
de
concrete
productos que hoy
evolution
son aplicaciones
with
comerciales
products that
que están
are
en el mercado
commercial applications that
apostando
are
al
out in the
menor consumo
market,
por reducción y a la utilización de materiales
leading
recuperados.
us to
Entonces, quería
use
dejarles
recovered
ese
materials
mensaje,
with a
el
lower
mensaje de nuestro
impact on the environment.
compromiso
So
para
that
que
is the
ustedes
message
vean
that
que
I
dentro
had.
de este compromiso, en
We
esta
would like you to
filosofía de
see that
trabajo,
within this work
hemos
philosophy,
logrado
philosophy,
concretamente avances
we
con
have been
muchos de
able to
ustedes
move forward with many
hacia
of you
productos de trabajo
towards
autosostenibles.
uh,
Hay mesas de trabajo muy
products of
importantes en
sustainable
naciones del Grupo
portfolios.
Plastilene que hoy
There are
siguen
many products that
comprometidas
the Castellani
en
Group has, and we are
pruebas
committed
y
to
más pruebas
continue to
y procesos de
test,
homologación y
continue to
procesos de
test, and
estabilización de
to
estas
have
películas con un
homologation
compromiso
processes
infinito
with
para
an
reemplazar
infinite
productos
commitment to
con altos
replace
componentes de
products
reducción de peso
um,
y mejores
with a
índices
high
de
component
reciclabilidad.
of weight
Eso es lo que les podemos contar alrededor de este
reduction
portafolio de
and
productos. Invito a Joana para
recyclability.
que
I
nos
would like to
hable de
invite
la
Joanna so
recuperación
that she
y
can
de
talk
las
about
materiales de origen
reusing
renovable.
and products with renewable materials. Good morning. We are very thankful to have you here today and to tell you how we have moved forward with this sustainable portfolio. As Rodrigo said, we need to talk about reduction. We have moved forward there, reincorporating recycled products. We have moved forward there as well, and the development of monomaterials. Another one of our commitments is the issue of reuse. We know that our flexible packaging industry, that is a great challenge, but we have been working with different initiatives, not only with flexible packaging, but also taking advantage of the infrastructure we have as a Plastilene group. We have other products as well. We have the development of our pallets, which have a recycled material content. We have other applications such as reusable bags. With my portfolio, I cannot show up without showing my products. This is an example that I like a lot. This is a bag that I use to uh, do my shopping. That bag has been with me for 2 years. It's made out of naphthalene. We made it for a North American client, and this is something that we want to promote. This is a very interesting product because it is not only reusable, this is a material where we can include recycled resins. So I like it. I use it to go shopping, grocery shopping, and it's an example that I like to show. Just like this, we can move to the topic of renewables. We have moved forward with that in evaluating raw materials with a renewable origin that might or might not be renewable. So in these markets, we have alternatives, and of course, we have evaluated different technologies of biodegradable and compost materials. They have gone through our labs, through our industrial machinery, and the message is to tell you that we have those materials available in our portfolio. You're going to see it in our report. You're going to be able to find it with our commercial team. We can sit down and talk about the good, the bad, the ugly, because as Mr. Antonio said, the circular economy and sustainability is a topic that covers us all. This covers our customers, our suppliers, consumers, this covers logistics, the government, and there is not one single perfect solution. So we can find those uses, we can find where we can use these products and that it'll work. During the past 2 years or 3 years, We haven't seen each other, but we would like to tell you that the products are in our portfolio. We are more than willing to talk with our suppliers and with our clients to tell you about this in detail. We have a question from the streaming. It reads, you're talking about post-consumption, but at Plastilene, what actions have you implemented to protect the environment? Maybe in Mauricio's chapter we can address it, but it's an open question.
Sí, yo creo que encaja perfecto para el capítulo
Yes,
ambiental,
I think that
entonces,
it fits with the
para
environmental
redondear este
topic that
mensaje
he will
seguramente,
cover.
seguramente Estefano
Okay,
ahorita
to
nos va a
finish
ampliar
this,
todo esto que hemos venido hablando acá, este
Stefan is
portafolio
going to
creado en
talk about the
Colombia,
portfolio that was
desarrollado en
created in
Latinoamérica,
Colombia, that
esta
it was
operación de
developed
consumo,
in Latin
todo
America,
el
this
concepto de
post-consumption
reciclaje,
plant,
lo estamos
the
exportando
recycling
ahora
concept that we are now
concretamente a Estados
exporting
Unidos,
to the
concretamente
United States.
en Ohio. Ahorita
Concretely
estamos
in Ohio,
inaugurando en este
we are
mes
inaugurating our
este mes que entra en
plant
septiembre
this month,
y estamos trabajando con
and we are working with
instituciones
different
también locales
institutions,
en Estados Unidos, la Universidad de Ohio,
local
de verdad
institutions in the United States, Ohio University,
el
on
ciclo
biodegradables. We are working
Trimed,
with the
estamos trabajando
Trimed
con el
Institute.
Departamento de
We are
Energía en
working
los
with the
Estados
Department
Unidos
of Energy in the United States
para el tema de carbono neutralidad y para
for
otros
the carbon neutral
trabajos
project and
relacionados de
other
sostenibilidad y todo
sustainability
basado en
works that
Colombia
are being
desde
developed.
esta filosofía de vida
This
y
is
con
the
esta
life
mentalidad
philosophy in
de
Colombia,
superación
and
y de
we have a
transformación.
mentality to overcome
Entonces, aprovecho
everything.
el
So
momento
we
para
want to go
darle
beyond.
paso a
I would like
Estefano
to
que
give
nos
the
hable un
floor to
poquito de
Stefano so that
compromiso.
he can talk to us about social commitment. Well, this is not what I do, but I was left with the responsibility because I have to replace the person that manages the social side because this person is attending an audit that couldn't be replaced. No one is better than Nidia to tell you what we're doing because this is her every day, but she asked me to represent her, and I am twice as sad because I was very happy to have Juan Fowler who are in Guatemala. They are the people we work with for the Sacred Family Foundation. Piedad had some symptoms this morning, and it was imprudent for her to come here. So the social chapter within the Plastilene family and the Pacini family is essential and critical. My father said that in the video, and I think this is at the core of this group. People make the difference, and this is the social part within and the outwards social part. Both chapters are very important. I think the pandemic and the crisis we went through were drivers to think more, develop more, help more. We have objectives that you have seen in our sustainability reports. In Plastilene, all of our employees have to have an education, own their own home, they have to have a health program, they have to be able to participate, and we are willing to help them where we can. We have limited resources, but we are developing programs. The pandemic changed the values, needs, priorities, and we are working on understanding them. We want to implement them simply so that people are happy, so that people can progress, can grow, and can improve inwards, not outwards, because during the pandemic, uh, the this led us to develop our social programs. Recycling has brought us closer to recyclers. You know that they are a group in need. We've been training these white speakers. The business is a, our business is a business for them as well. Let's look at Marce. If you remember Marce 5 years ago versus what she is today, that really shows the importance of how the world is evolving. It hasn't been easy because every month we have meetings and we have three, four, five new associations that join. We have to teach them, we have to show them, we have to bring them closer. And that we found an interesting mechanism, and that is to bring them to the plant and to make them become part of the solution. When the waste pickers, if they use the machinery, if they see the products, this is an invaluable learning, and there we are completely committed. We try to do what we can with nearby communities. We participate into organizations that are very close to our heart. I don't know, Fernando, for the past 35, 40 years, we've been working with Club Michin, where we help families in need, children in need. We have 180 kids in different programs. And we also help Guatemala, where we have helped about 400 children. We have 51 member families and 91 kids in the program. We also work on education, so that the children can study in private schools. So the social project within Plastilene is big, it's huge. We would like to do much more. Many times it's not easy. I was talking to somebody about the bureaucratic barriers, and sometimes it seems impossible to be able to help, but we are doing it. We are committed to that. This is something that our father inherited us. So it's very sad that Nidia is not here, that Juan is not here. I don't know. We have the Club Michin representation, but what I would like to say is that we are working inwards, outwards. We do it with our hearts, and that we have to continue moving forward. That is the message.
Estefano, y es un compromiso que nos
Thank you,
mueve
Stefano. This is a
muy
commitment that
específicamente
moves us.
a todos los
It
colaboradores de la
moves me
asociación.
personally.
Nos llama a vibrar, nos llama a
This
levantarnos
makes
todos los
us
días, nos llama
vibrate,
a
makes
pedir
us
retos,
get up
a
every day
buscar
to look for
recursos,
new
a buscar
challenges,
alianzas
resources,
con todos ustedes, con
alliances
todos los
with all of you,
contribuyentes,
with the
a sacar
stakeholders,
a sacar la sostenibilidad adelante
to
y todos
continue
felices
working
para que
on
Colombia crezca,
sustainability,
para que
to
el
make
país
sure
crezca,
that this family
los
grows, that the
países en que
country
estamos
grows,
y
the
que las
countries where
cosas
we
estén
are grows,
haciendo
and that
bien.
things are done correctly within that philosophy.
Bueno, no, en nombre de la Fundación
On
Michin,
behalf
agradecerles a todas
Fundación
las entidades del
Michin,
grupo por
I
darnos
would
ese
like
apoyo
to
tan
tell the
importante,
group,
tan
thank you
generoso
for
y
giving
tan
us such
activo siempre
important
para que
support,
podamos
uh,
impactar
so that we
cientos de
can
niños al año
impact hundreds of
durante
children per
todos los
year
años que dice Estefano
during
que
the
nos han estado
2
apoyando
years that
del programa de
Stefano says
protección
they've been
industriales con
supporting us.
nosotros en nuestros
We
hogares
have
y de
children that live
prevención
in
para
our
muchas familias que
households
se benefician
and
de toda
prevention
la
for
gente que
many
trabaja.
families that benefit from this generosity.
Bueno, y finalmente, dentro de los
And
compromisos tenemos el
finally,
compromiso
within the
ambiental.
commitments, we have the environmental commitment. Mauricio, please.
Bueno, cierro con tal vez el tema más
I would
importante
like to
y
close
es
with the
que
most
todo esto se
important
reduce
topic
a
because this
tenemos un cambio climático.
goes back to the fact that we
El
have
planeta en el
climate
que
change.
vivimos
The
es una
planet where
pequeña
we
isla en un inmenso mar
live, which is a
y el
small
clima
island in a huge ocean, is going through
clima todos los
climate
días
changes.
vemos
We
tormentas,
see
sequías,
storms,
hambrunas
droughts,
por pérdidas de cosechas
famine
y todo eso
because
sobre
of
todo es la
lack
generación
of
de gases de efecto invernadero.
crops, and this is
Cuando
because
hablamos de
of
carbón, en
the
realidad nos referimos a eso,
greenhouse effect. So how are we going to work? Because not only the companies, industry, every person should think about how to reduce the carbon print. This is what we live in the environment with all of the natural processes we have, not only the productive processes. On our day-to-day, we generate a carbon print. Um, At the end of this conversation, I invite you to look for several internet apps so that you can trace what is your carbon print and how can you decrease that print. How can I walk the planet, but to have a broom behind you erasing that print. That is what we are doing. It's inevitable to generate a carbon print. It is inevitable to generate greenhouse gases, but we need to see how to compensate them, how we are going to take it to the minimum levels without risking what we have been discussing in terms of product and quality of our products for our clients. How do we work on that? First of all, this is what Mr. Antonio had in his DNA, and he gave it to us. Hey, materials and machinery have to be environmentally efficient. So what does Plastilene do? They have the most efficient machinery in the world. We can say that we are always ahead when it comes to technology. For each kilogram that we produce, we are consuming the minimum amount of energy for this type of products. So energy efficiency, the efficiency of the products, of the raw materials, hand in hand with efficiency in processes, efficiency in the machinery, allow us to reduce the greenhouse effect and the carbon print. What do we do concretely? We have highly technological machinery, and this allow us to compare to others in the market. The energy efficiency are world class. The kilowatts per hour per ton, we are at the level of the best companies in Europe. So this gives us the peace of mind that we are working on reducing that carbon print. We also would like to invite everyone to work on reducing this carbon print. Concretely, regarding energy, we work on two aspects. First, using green energy. The energy negotiation, and those who work in the industry know that power can be negotiated after certain amounts in Colombia, but we want to look for the best supplier, the supplier that guarantees that the energy production that they are supplying us has the lowest environmental impact. Power energy that we consume in our plants in Colombia, with the exception of one, and that is because of real estate regulation. We also have negotiations with green energy, the one that is not produced with combustion equipment, but with hydraulic energy. And we are strongly working in alternative energies. We are working on eolic energy, solar energy. Our new plants are on the path to implement solar panels, but without overlooking an important issue, and that is the product's life cycle. Not only the product that we give to our clients, the machinery we use, and within these green solutions, we need to make sure that the end of the life cycle allows us to be aware of the environment. We cannot say, let's fill our companies with solar panels, and in 10, 15, or 20 years, when they are not used anymore, what are we going to do with that? So the life cycle of these elements is important and as well, and it is part of the analysis we perform when we're going to purchase and when we take into account energy efficiency. And to close, I would like to invite you again, check your footprint, talk to your families, in your companies, how we can reduce our footprint just by turning the light off, sharing a car, using public transportation, riding a bike, and little by little, as Plastilene reduces tons of CO2, how we can reduce grams of CO2 until we reach a neutral carbon society. We are a carbon neutral company, and we hope that society continues to be as well.
Thank you, Mauricio. And now to close up the
eh,
question,
¿cuál es el
what
aporte al medio
is
ambiente
the
con este,
contribution
con
Grupo
esto que
Stilene
hemos
has
tocado
to the
este
environment?
año
Mauricio mentioned
2021?
that in 2021
Iniciamos el consumo de
we
energías
started
renovables
using
eh,
renewable
y logramos
energies
compensar
and
internamente
we were able to compensate
4.727 toneladas de carbón
4,677
equivalente por el uso de
tons
estas
of
energías
carbon equivalent
renovables.
due to the use of
Adicionalmente,
these
con
renewable
este
energies.
arranque de la planta postconsumo,
With
el
the
año
startup of the
2021
post
estuvimos cerca de
consumption plant
producir
in 2021, we were close to
4.000
producing
toneladas de
4,000
materiales
tons
que dejaron de
of
llegar a
materials that
residuos
did not
sanitarios,
get to
contenedores y
landfills or ended
aterrizajes
up
civils.
in the
Y nuestro
environment in
compromiso
various
es ir aún más
ecosystems.
allá y seguir
Our
haciéndolo
commitment goes beyond
por
that, and we continue
tercer
to be.
año
For the
consecutivo
third year in a row,
para la
we're going
certificación
to
de carbono
apply
neutralidad
for
y con
the
esa
carbon
intención
neutral
que nos
certificate,
mantiene como
and
empresa
with
que
the
generamos
intention
impacto
that keeps
positivo
us
para el
as
clima,
companies
porque
that
al final de
generate a
todo el
positive impact
ejercicio
to the
de la
climate,
reducción,
to
de la
because at the
optimización, de la
end of the
reglamentación,
exercise reduction,
compensamos más de la
compensation,
huella de
and
carbono
reuse,
que
we
generamos
compensate more
para
of the carbon
devolverle al medio ambiente
footprint that we
parte de
actually
ese esfuerzo
generate
que
to
años
give back
pasados
to the environment part
caminamos
of
en
that
vacío
use
sin hacer
that we
compensación.
did
Ese es un poco el
several years
concepto
ago
de
without
negocio que
generating
proponemos.
compensation. So that is the
Claro,
concept that
tenemos una
implemented by the
pregunta
group.
que es
We have a
complementaria a lo que
question
estás
that
mencionando,
complements
que es bien
what you are
interesante.
saying,
Nos
and it is
dicen,
very
es
interesting.
interesante conocer las
They say it
acciones
is
del
interesting
grupo
to know the
y me
actions of the
preguntan,
group,
¿necesitan la
and they
ayuda?
ask us, do
Les
you need
decimos,
help?
¿cómo se pueden
If you
sumar
do, how
organizaciones
can
públicas y civiles para
public and civil
acelerar la
organizations
reducción de los impactos?
join you to generate reduction of the impacts, Mauricio?
Estefano.
I think the answer is yes. And I think we've mentioned this from the beginning. From recycling to carbon neutral, to the carbon neutral piece, you start adding little pieces, but we alone are not going to change the world. So, of course, any type of help, I think it's important. Regarding recyclability, I think it is more important than in carbon neutrality. We can do more things alone because it is a complex process that comes from home and ends up in the user and the packager. It is a project of all of us where we think that any help can be is going to be welcome. There are not competitors or competences. We have competitions. We have a common project that we need to work together. It is a project that none one company or anybody in the world can do that alone. There is a lot of literature. I'm sure that you've seen it. Companies such as Unilever, Dow Chemical, world size companies alone cannot solve the problem. We have to do it all together, and that's where welcome help is welcome if we
Y
receive
perdón,
it.
yo quisiera complementar,
I would like to
así
complement that,
definitiva la
Stefano. To
pregunta,
that, yes,
así definitiva la pregunta,
and to that
que
question,
tal vez aprovechando
maybe
esta
taking advantage of
convocatoria
this
y queremos
invitation.
extendemos esa invitación,
We
porque
would like to extend our invitation because if you
hoy en este evento de
contextualize
los que
this
estamos
today
acá
in
y en
this
el streaming,
event, the
pues
ones that are here and
sumamos
on
una
streaming,
cadena
we
inmensa,
add a
industrial y comercial,
huge chain,
que
industrial and
claramente
commercial
puede
chain that
empezar a
clearly can
generar
start
pasos siguientes
generating
en este proceso
next
de
action
vida que arrancamos
steps
con la
in
filosofía de
this
aumento
life
verde,
process
que
that we
progresa
started
hacia
with
compromisos y
Mr.
hacia
Antonio's
inversiones que
philosophy
respaldan
that
el
goes to
compromiso
commitments and
y hacia
investments
proyectos
that support
concretos.
that
Pero
commitment
tal
and
vez la
concrete
gran
projects.
ventaja de una
But the
convocatoria
big
como esta es
advantage of this
escuchar
invitation
a
maybe is to
productores, a
join
embajadores, a
producers,
consumidores,
packagers,
el sector
consumers, the
financiero, el
financial
sector
sector, the
académico, la
academia,
cadena de las materias primas.
the
Ya
raw
no es
material chain.
el
So it
grupo
is not just
Plastilene con
Plastilene
la mejor de las
group
intenciones
with the
empujando,
best intentions
sino es una
pushing,
suma
driving this,
infinita
but it is an
de grupos de
infinite
interés
addition of stakeholders that will help us build more specific situations to create projects and execute them. Our challenge moving forward is, I am convinced and proud of saying this, we've been doing efforts as the company group, doing our thing, completely convinced and committed to sustainability. But that yes, definite yes to that request for help is also an invitation to talk about projects, to talk about ideas, to devote our times and efforts to run tests and simulations and to share knowledge, because moving forward the impact of sustainability has have to be the sum of the effort. Sometimes you feel alone in the process or very little, but when you are able to add have companies join sectors, guilds, companies, the academia, you can see the actual evolution of sustainability grows exponentially. So the invitation is to turn these platforms into cooperation platforms for the projects to be born and be executed with everybody's help.
Tenemos más preguntas, vamos a
We have
resolver
more
dos más
questions. We're going to
de
answer two
chat
more
virtual.
in the
Y
virtual
si alguien
channel.
aquí en la
And if
presencial
somebody
tiene alguna
here
pregunta, por favor
has any
levantar la
question,
mano para
you
que
can
podamos
raise your
responder.
hand so that we can bring
Nos
the microphone
preguntan
to
y
you.
esta
The
no es de
question,
hoy.
Mauricio, this is to
La
you.
huella de carbono neutra es para
The
hacer un
neutral
22
carbon footprint
o
is
ni
scope
siquiera
1 or
tiene
2,
fecha
or does it include
y el
scope
plan es
3?
de neutralizar el
Or
tercero.
are there any plans
Bueno,
to neutralize that
como dice
third
Ricardo,
scope?
ya
As
básicamente lo
Ricardo
que
was
estamos
saying, this is our
como
third
en
year
entrega
with a
de carbono
certification
neutral.
as carbon neutral
Y
company
hasta
and
el año pasado
carbon
fuimos
positive
alcances uno y 2.
company. Up to the last year, we
Para
were
darles
one
una
and
idea de
two.
que son los alcances
To give you an
en el
idea
proceso
of what
productivo,
that means is in
todo
the
genera
productive
afectación.
process,
El
everything
alcance uno y el
generates
alcance
a
2 están
carbon
en el proceso
footprint.
productivo como
One
tal.
and two, you
Y eso
have
es la
the
energía y lo que
productive
se
process, the
genera en estos
power
procesos para estos
consumption,
proyectos.
and what is
El alcance
generated in the
3 va un
project
poco más lejos,
itself.
va al
Scope 3
impacto que
goes a little
realizan
bit
los
beyond the
colaboradores
impact
en el tema
generated
de
by the
transporte,
collaborators,
en
transportation,
entregar materiales y
delivering
recibiendo
materials,
y que
receiving
alcance
raw
más
material.
allá.
That scope
Y eso
goes a
fue
little
lo
bit
que hicimos
beyond
para
that, and that
presentar
is the one that we're working
este
on
número.
this year. It is
Realmente es
hard.
fácil, muy
We can
lógico
say
responder al
easy,
primero
easy,
porque
easy,
viene de
quote
la
unquote,
ADN que llevó
because
Martín.
we have
Y
in
esa es la
Don
filosofía
Antonio's
de
DNA
reusar,
the
reciclar,
philosophy
optimizar,
of reusing,
generar estrategias
recycling,
de producción
optimizing,
y
have
de
high
industrialización.
productive
Pero
efficiencies
de ahí
is
no hacia
goes a
adelante
long way.
oiga,
But going
el
forward,
combustible que gasta
oh,
nuestro
hey,
comercial, el
the
combustible que gasta
fuel
el
that
camión de
you
entrega
use
va a ser
for
el combustible, el
delivering the
combustible que
material
gasta
to our
el buque que
customers, the
viene
fuel
de
that is
Europa, desde
used by the
China,
ship that comes from
cómo estamos
China,
haciendo para
how
mitigar
can we
también
mitigate
ese impacto
that
que huele a
impact
combustible.
of the carbon
Empezamos este
footprint?
año,
We
estamos trabajando
started this
fuerte,
year. We're working hard
esperamos
on that.
a final de
We
año que
hope that at the end of the
nuestra
year,
certificación
we
vayamos a
that
tener con, pues,
the
por lo menos la
certificate
certificación
audit will we will get
presidencial,
it
estamos avanzando.
with
Gracias,
bright colors,
Mauricio.
but we're working on
Voy
that.
a juntar dos preguntas
Thank
para
you,
Fabián
Mauricio. I'm
y así
going to have two
terminamos
questions for
la
Fabián, and
sesión
with
de las
this, we will
preguntas virtuales
close
para darles la
the
palabra a los presenciales.
floor
Son
for
dos,
this
Fabián. La
virtual
primera
question.
dice, ¿por qué
The first
PET es
question
uno de los
says,
plásticos
why
más
PET is one of
reciclados?
the most
Y la
recycled
segunda dice,
plastics? And the
las
second one says,
implementaciones
as part
realizadas
of the
por el grupo
implementations
Plastilene
run by
han contemplado,
Plastilene,
perdón, me
I'm
equivoqué.
sorry,
Nosotros
no,
como una
we
comunidad
as a
lejana
community
de
that
una
is
ciudad,
far
¿cómo
from a
podríamos
city,
ayudar
how
en
can
el
we
apoyo
help
a la economía circular?
supporting
¿Por qué
circular
PET y cómo
economy?
las comunidades
Why
alejadas
PET
pueden
and how
hacerlo acá?
the
Bueno,
remote communities
Bueno,
can help?
voy a tratar de no extenderme mucho
I'm
porque
going to try to
entiendo
be
que es un
short
tema
because we
pues
have a lot of
complejo,
technical concepts
pero en términos
behind
básicos
why
lo que pasa
PET.
es que la estructura
Basically,
del PET
the thing
es
is
una
that
estructura mucho
the
más noble,
PET
es una
structure is a
estructura
lot more
que
noble.
no
It's a
absorbe
structure that
los
does not
líquidos o
absorb
los
the liquids
elementos con los
or
cuales
the
las
elements
transporta.
it's been
Eso facilita
exposed to.
mucho la
That makes
reciclabilidad del
it
PET. Es
easy
una
to
cadena que lleva
recycle
muchos
PET.
años,
It is
que
a
incluye
chain that's
todo lo que
been
nosotros estamos hoy en
around
día
for
montando en Colombia
a
para
long
poder
time,
garantizar el
and
aprovisionamiento.
it
Es una cadena que
guarantees
también establecía el
some
múltiple paso.
replenishment. So it is
Entonces,
a
eso
chain that's been
facilita
here for a while. So
la
that makes it
reciclabilidad del
easy
PET y por
to
eso antes
recycle
para los
PET. And
recolectores
that's why
en la calle se
before,
les
for
cobraba
waste
mucho
pickers on the
porque
streets,
obviamente deciden no lavarlo
why
porque
they
tienen
saw that
todas sus
flexible material was not
expectativas y
valid,
tienen todo su
because all their
conocimiento
expectation and all
enfocado al
their
PET,
knowledge was
por lo que les acabo de
focused on
explicar. Pero no
PET.
solo es el PET,
But it is not
también es
just
mucho más
PET.
sencillo
It is a
resultar
lot
como el
easier to
material
have
del proceso
monomaterial
de extrusión
packages in
total.
the
El proceso de extrusión
blown
total normalmente se
extrusion
hace
process,
con un solo material
which
o por
generally is done with
semiperpendicular
just
o por
one
propileno.
material,
Por el
polypropylene or
PET
high
solo
density
tenemos PET,
polypropylene.
entonces es
So
mucho
with
más
PET, we
sencillo
only
poder
have PET,
separar.
so it is a lot
Nosotros
easier to
hicimos un
separate that.
ejercicio de
Not long
detalles
ago,
en el
we ran
PET
an exercise to
diferente
include
y
something
generó
different
una
in PET,
cantidad de
and it
complicaciones
generated
en la
so
cadena de
many
reciclabilidad
complications in the
donde les
recycling
tocó tumbar
chain
toda la
that they
educación
had
que estamos
to
haciendo nosotros en el
generate all
colegio
the education that
para
we
que
are
los
running right now
recicladores
for
pudieran separar
waste speakers
esa
to be
sola
able to
botella que
separate
generaba ese
that
choque aceptación
single bottle
negativo
that would
en la
generate
cadena
such a
reciclabilidad. En
negative
el
impact
flexible
on
ya
the
jugamos con muchas más
recyclability
variables.
chain.
Entonces
In
no hay problema.
flexible, we have a
Yo te
lot more
tendría
variables,
muchísimo
but it
explicándote
would
estos
take a
conceptos
long
técnicos,
time to
pero en
explain
conclusión
these
es porque
technical
el PET ya tiene
concepts.
una cadena establecida
The
hace
thing is
muchos años
that PET
atrás.
has a
La parte de
chain
material es
that's
muy
been a
noble y
while,
muy
that's
simple de
been around
reciclar
for a
por su
while, and it
estructura.
is very simple to
La
recycle due to
segunda,
its
ok.
molecular
La
structure.
segunda,
The
voy a tratar
second
de mejorarla
question,
con la
I'm going
primera
to try to
definición de
tie
PET,
that with the
donde
first one,
hablábamos
where we were
de
talking
la
about
ayuda de otros entes.
help from other
A qué me
entities.
refiero con
What do
esto?
I mean
A
by that?
que si nosotros desde la
If
casa
we, from our
hacemos una tarea
households,
muy sencilla
run a
y
very
es
simple
tratar de separar como nos
task
decía don
to
Antonio que lo hacía
separate,
en la
as Don
casa,
Antonio said
él
that he did
tiene
at home.
cuatro
He
estantes para
has
separar la basura.
4 boxes to
Actualmente,
separate
esa basura,
waste.
y un relleno
Currently,
sanitario
that
se le
waste
puede
that
dar
gets
todo el
to the
valor, como lo
landfill
vimos
can
en el
have all
IPET,
the
más de
value.
4.000 toneladas,
Over
evitamos que llegaran a
4,000
un relleno
tons, we
sanitario
avoid, we
porque se
stop them from
clasificó.
getting to the landfill
Entonces, si
because
nosotros
we
logramos hacer eso
classify that.
desde
So
nuestras
if we
casas,
do that from
separar
our
en la
homes,
bolsita blanca
separate
todo lo que
in the
sea
white bag
susceptible de
everything
reciclarse,
that can be
papel, cartón,
carbon,
metal y
paper,
evidentemente
metals,
el
and of
plástico, y lo
course
dejamos en esa
plastic,
bolsita,
and we put
dejamos
that
la bolsita verde
in
para
that
dejar
bag.
todo lo que es
We
orgánico
have the
y vamos a
green
poder
bag for
generar
all
compost y
organics,
generar
and
otro
we
valor
generate
para ese material
compost
orgánico.
and
Y en la
different value
bolsita
for
negra
that
dejamos
organic
todo lo que es
material.
basura, donde ya no
And in
podemos
the
hacer nada con ese
black
material y
bag,
sí debe llegar
we
al relleno
put
sanitario.
everything that is
Con
waste that
esa
needs to
ayuda,
go to the
a nivel
landfill because we are
gubernamental, se
not
puede
supposed to do
llegar a
anything else
muchas
with
más
that.
personas,
So with
donde
that
no
help,
prácticamente
that gets to
habemos
a
X
lot
cantidad
more
de
people.
personas
Here we have an
que
X number
podemos
of people
replicar,
that can
pero si el gobierno
replicate.
también
But
nos
if the
puede apoyar
government
y
can
muchas más
support us
instituciones
and many
establecerlo
other
en el colegio,
institutions help
en la
us
universidad,
bring
esto
this
nos facilitaría mucho el
education to
proceso a nosotros
schools
en la
and
planta de
colleges,
compostaje.
that will
Y
make
esa
the
población
process a lot
desalojada
easier in
nos
the
puede ayudar con ese
post-consumption
sencillo paso
plan. And
de
those
poder
remote
hacer esa
people can
separación,
help us
donde ellos
just
solitos
by
hacen esa
doing the
separación, tal vez
separation. If they
nosotros ya
start
podemos
doing the
llegar allá
separation, maybe we can
con
get
nuestros
there
equipos, con nuestra
with our
tecnología,
equipment and
para poder dar
technology
ese
so
valor
that
a
we
ese
can
material
give
y que
them
no termine
that value to
envenenándose
that material
y
so it will
destruyendo
not
toda la
end up in the
población.
landfill.
¿Ok? Yo quiero agregarle
I would
también
like
un
to add a
tema
couple of things that go beyond the
como para que
questions.
no se me olvide, ya que
First, for
el
those of us that are not
PET es
engineers,
inmediatamente reciclable y no se degrada.
PET is always
Es
recyclable and is not degradable.
fácil de
So
hacer
that makes it a lot easier and more appealing than polyethylene and all the others resins.
y mecánicamente
And
igual.
mechanically, you can do that without having it degrade, which is a big
Por eso ahora
advantage.
volviendo con el
And
PET,
on the other hand,
estamos
talking
haciendo
about
una
Plastilene, we're
diferenciación
talking about
que
4,000
son pocas
tons. That is not
unidades en
true.
planta 2
We
y
do
planta 1. Nosotros
4,000
estamos
tons
haciendo
in
la
plant
diferencia
2
de
of
alimentos
post
vegetales y
consumption,
todo
but we are
lo
doing
que llamamos
beyond 2,000
a
tons
post
between
industrial.
everything that we
Estamos
recycle in
haciendo
post industrial recyclables.
100%
We
post
have a
consumo
PET plant that works
total.
100% in
Entonces estamos haciendo
post-consumption
algo
recyclable
diferente.
materials. So when we look
Tal
at
vez lo
the easy one,
fácil podemos
the easy
dividir
impact,
con los tópicos
the
que ya
difficult one is the
estamos
4,000
viendo
tons. The
y
easy one is the other one. And if you do that, you can do whatever number because those are processes that are a lot easier and a lot simpler. And as part of a recycle process, we have a time limit, but the projects that we have are
hemos tenido apoyo
infinite, endless.
cercano y
So
que nos
recycling transparent, a clear polyethylene is like recycling
ayuda
gold.
a
When you
poder
add some ink, it's
concluir
bronze,
que
and then if you
el
add
orgánico
an organic contamination
se pierde
component, then
y de ahí
it
empieza
becomes
a
iron, and
desatar
then it starts going down and down and
problemas y
down.
todo eso.
So we're working on all
Estamos
of
viendo
that.
cómo hacemos para
We are
desintegrar
seeing how
y
we can
conseguir
remove
partículas
the
mínimas
inks and
también
remove the
para poder
laminates, and we can
mejor
better
separar lo
wash
que no
and
son
better separate all the
biodegradable.
organic materials. But those are
Tiempos
projects that are huge,
difíciles,
hard.
sobre
where we are not going to be able to do anything alone. So again, we need all the help. It's everybody's help. This is not our project. This is a project that belongs to all of us. And we could stay here and talk about this for days, the eco design itself. But we can do eco design, but if nobody else does it, we're not going anywhere. In the case of Canada, Canada at some point had to make a decision whether they went through the recycled materials or biodegradable. They took recyclable because if we start mixing non-biodegradable with biodegradable, the recycling part gets all mixed up. With biodegradable, we are committing the recyclable chain. So it is so complex that it is our project that we need to work together, all of us, and we are working on the bio design, how to improve the techniques to turn the materials that are silver or bronze into gold. But here we need partners and we need the commitment. We are actually committed and we're doing that. So I think that is a little bit to complement what you said. And I wanted to clarify that in Plastilene, we do not recycle for 1,000 tons, but we do a lot more than what we say we do.
También para darle un poquito de alcance a la pregunta de la
Just to
comunidad,
complement the question of the
está
community,
la retirada.
that is a
Hay una
remote
ley de REP,
community.
Ley de
There is
Protección
a
de Recursos
REP
Biológicos y Genéticos,
law that I
que
think
nos
we all
lleva a
know,
estar por
and
esa
we are
legislación
covered by that
a
legislation
recoger
that
los
brings us to
envases que salen al
collecting
mercado
the
en porcentajes
packages that
hasta
we
el
put into
30%
the
en el
market
2030
up to
y hay
30% in
organizaciones
2030. And
tipo
there
de
are
REP
some
donde
organizations rep collectives
donde
where
Acoplásticos
Sempre
participa,
Acoplásticos,
tienen
Andy
la obligación de
participate.
ampliar su
They
cobertura para
are
llegar a la ley
forced
de
to
REP
increase
y
that
traer esos
coverage to
materiales.
go to
Entonces, si nosotros
those
logramos, como dice
remote
Fabián, haciendo
communities
la
and bring
clasificación
those
correcta,
materials.
vamos a
So
llegar a
if
tocar la
we do
puerta.
the correct
Y los
classification, we're
pueden
going
tocar
to
la
be
puerta
able
también.
to
Nos
knock
pueden
on their door,
escribir,
and
se pueden
they
comunicar
can
con
knock on our
nosotros.
doors. You can
Es
write
parte
to
de
us. You
cómo
can get
reciben
in touch with
cómo
us, and that
unificar la
is
legislación
how
en
we can
torno
unify
al
the
plástico,
legislation around
a los
plastic,
materiales de empaque
around the
y
packaging
un
materials,
poco
and a little
no
bit
generar tantas vertientes o
stop
tantas
generating
líneas
so many
de
lines, so
esfuerzos
many
sobre,
branches of
sobre estos
efforts
materiales
on
con
these
algún tipo
materials with
de
a different
impuestos o algún
type of
tipo de
taxes
legislaciones
or
y un poco
legislations.
encaminarnos como lo está
But
haciendo
like
Europa, como lo está haciendo
as
las
Europe
comunidades
is
andinadas,
doing and all developed
que muestren
countries are
economía
doing,
circular,
let's
que
focus on
muestren
our
reciclaje, que
circular
apliquemos
economy, on
técnicas
recycling,
correctas de los
on the
materiales
right
y
disposal of the
hagamos
materials,
que estos
and let's
materiales no
make
contaminen,
this
sino
not
que
to
estén
let's stop
generando
them
la
from
segunda
getting to
economía, la
these other
bioeconomía,
places, but
que
generating a
este
second and a
polímero
third
que es
economy.
más
And
difícil
for
de
that
embed,
polyethylene, which is
siempre será
harder than embed,
difícil,
it is always going
pero
to be
hagamos lo mejor
harder. But
posible
we like
porque
challenges, and the
vamos a ver
challenge
que
that we
esta
have taken
política
on
no
is
va a
that we are
desviar
going to
la
have
siquiera
this
una
low
comunidad
density
europea y
polyethylene
le
to be
podamos dar la
considered as
vuelta
a PET,
a
and
este
that we
problema.
can turn it around endlessly.
Quiero
That
darle
is our
la palabra a
challenge. I
Esteban
would
para
like
que
to
nos
give the
dé
floor to
un
Stefano
poquito
for him to give us the input and
conocimiento
knowledge
y esa retroalimentación de
and that
cómo va ese
feedback as
proyecto de
to
Estados Unidos
how that United
en
States
2 minuticos
project is going. 2 minutes.
y les damos la
And then
palabra
we
a
will
ustedes
give
que
the
tienen su
floor
pregunta.
to, we will open the floor for questions. The United States project. The United States project actually is nothing else but an extension of the Colombian project. When we started looking up north, we started knocking on the doors of potential customers. The first surprise was that 5 years ago in the United States, sustainability was a problem that did not exist there. When we talked about having a product that can be recycled, a product that can be a better eco design, no interest. We don't want problems. We want a good product and good prices. Recycling is a headache. 5 years later, United States has changed. Sustainability, recycling, plastic is an everyday issue. And what we have found, and that makes us feel very proud, is the ones that have listened to us and who have visited us have also understand us. And what we have here is a big lab. We have a big lab that we are not just recycling, and at a post-consumption mechanical household level that very few companies do. Many of the companies do that in the mechanical post-industrial and post-commerce recycling, not post-consumption. But they have found that we have a lot of technologies for conversion, extrusion, a lot of develop projects to develop alternate materials. And I don't know if it is just a luck out of luck or whatever, but 15 years ago we decided that we're not going to make aluminum or paper, just polyethylene, and that is what we call monomaterial today. And just out of an accident, we have been working on materials for 15 years, and that is being valued right now. So when we started knocking at doors in the United States, we noticed first that we had, and I am really humble to say this, some advantage, additional knowledge. Second, we had a lab that was very important because we were able to not just give a solution, but many solutions. We have products that can be done better in cast, others that are better in blunt, others that are better done in water quaint, others that are better done in a laminate, and an endless number of solutions that we were able to propose. And thing brings another thing. Then a project, the customer, what we call cost anchor customer, asked us that together with an American technology company we developed, and that is the first illusion of having a plant in the United States. It took us 2 years, 17 tests. Finally, we have the material out. And to start with this material, we started opening doors, and doors were open to us. They saw there was a company that would listen to them with the willingness of being able to develop what the customer wants, not what I produce. That is an element that for the big American companies, 15,000, 20,000 million dollars is something hard to implement. So we found a niche that as part of sustainability within innovation and within the know-how and technology that we have opens doors for us, and that is where we decided to start up and move forward. That's been interesting, as Ricardo was saying. Today, we're working with the Ministry of Energy, we're working with the University of Ohio, we're working with the University of New York, we're working in associations of food producers that are looking for innovative solutions regarding packaging. We have an endless number of projects coming and going. This is an extension of Plastilene, and we are bringing that to Ohio. We don't call that a production plant, we call it an innovation plant and a development plant. And the equipment that we're bringing there are designed to do that. So we're going to start production in 3 weeks' time. The first films will start in 3 weeks. That is, as they say in the United States, neck breaking, but it is also really stimulating. But we hope that this project brings to Colombia and takes to the United States and makes us all very proud to be another Colombian company in the United States, only in films that are very technical and very innovative and sustainable. That's been the project, and we are really very happy and very motivated. This is all of us,
Gracias, Stefano.
work.
Eh,
Thank you,
sí,
Stefano.
tenemos preguntas.
Luisa, I don't know if you have any questions. Yes, there's
¿Hay alguna
somebody.
pregunta?
If there's anybody who has a question
Pues
up there,
un
Vamos a hacer
micrófono,
tres preguntitas
we
y
have three
ya
questions.
lo pasamos allí.
Thank you.
Mauricio Ramírez.
My
Yo
name is
quería
Mauricio
preguntarle
Ramirez. I would
al
like
Grupo
to ask
Plastilene
Grupo
por qué tienen
Plastilene. I've
pendiente o por
always
qué no han
had
llamado
a
al Ministerio de
question as to
Educación
why we have never gotten
a,
to the Ministry of
a
Education
solicitarles que
to
le presten a
ask
nuestros
them
estudiantes
to
una
include in
clase que se
our
llama reciclaje.
curriculum a
Ya es
class that
difícil
is a course that
hacer
is called
ejercicio en
recycling.
educación
I
infantil sin
would
que sea un
think that if
peso, porque ya
we had
reciclar,
that
pues la sociedad va a
subject,
cambiar.
that course
Entonces me gustaría
at
saber.
school, our society will change. That's what I want to know.
Aló, sí. Muchas gracias por la pregunta.
Thank you for the question.
Yo creo que es un deseo de
I
todos. Yo
think
creo
it
que
is
más que
everybody's
contestar,
desire.
es estar de
More
acuerdo
than
con lo que
answering
están
your
haciendo.
question is
Se ha
agreeing with what
promovido
you're
más
saying.
cátedras de
We
economía
have
circular.
promoted
Nosotros hemos
more
llevado a
circular
algunas
economy
universidades
courses. We have brought to
lo
some
que ha sido el
universities
caso de
what's
Plastilene
been the
en unos esfuerzos
Plastilene
pues
case in
una casi
some
muy
efforts that
limitada
have a very
cuando
limited
lo hemos
scope.
hecho en
But we've done
universidades
that at
aquí
colleges
en
here in
Colombia
Colombia
y en Estados Unidos
and in the
y yo creo
States.
que
And
si
I think
lográramos
that if
con
we were,
este
as an
esta
industry,
cadena
able, as a change, if we
promover
were able to
no solo el reciclaje sino la
promote
economía
not just
circular
recycling,
como
but
filosofía
circular
a nivel
economy as a
de Antonio
philosophy, Don
desde las
Antonio was
casas
saying
también
that from
como esos
the
valores
family, from the
siento
household,
que eso sí está un
teaching
poquito
those
más en
values,
nuestras
that is kind of
con
a
el
little bit
ejemplo
more
de cómo
under our
los
control
padres, de
with the
cómo ahorita
example
nos
of
enseñan
how
a
we
nosotros, pero
recycle.
también a
Now
nosotros,
they are
para
teaching us,
conocer un
but
poquito más
we can also
la
teach
historia
them
y el
about the
contexto
story
de lo
and
que ha sido
consumption,
la historia del
the
consumo en
story
Colombia
of consumption in
y cómo
Colombia. We could
podemos
teach
hacer
them
esos
that,
materiales pues
and how
a la
can
economía
we
circular. Ese es un
reintegrate those
bonito
materials to
objetivo,
economy.
un
That's a
reto que tenemos que
beautiful,
seguir
nice objective, a
enfrentando
good
y bueno,
challenge that we
más
need
bien
to face.
para,
And my
para
invitation
sumar
is to
esa
join
divulgación y
efforts to
comunicación
do that and to
las
communicate
audiencias
that to
y hacia
the
los consumidores
audiences
a
and
nivel
the
ciudadano
consumers and the
para
people
compartir.
to participate in the circular economy. Thank you very much for your question.
Buenos días, mi
Good
nombre es
morning.
Karen
My name
Pineda
is
del Grupo
Karen
Phoenix.
Pineda from
Yo
Phoenix
tengo pues
Group.
tres
I have
eh, em,
three
como preguntas puntuales. Uno
specific
sobre el tema de
questions.
PET. Sabemos que lo que
One
más
is
se
about
recicla
PET.
es la
We
botella de
know
PET
that
y
the
hacemos
PET bottle is the one
ustedes
that is
trabajan
recycled the
bastante con
most,
productos
and you
formados en PET.
also
Entonces quiero
make
entender
products
desde
that
la
are
maestría
made in
cómo
PET.
ven
I would
el
like to
reciclaje,
understand
recuperación y
how can you
transformación
see
de los productos
recovery,
termoformados en PET.
recycling, and
Eso es uno.
transformation of
Desde
these
el
PET
conocimiento y la
products?
experiencia que
From
tienen
knowledge
el
and
grupo
experience that
Plastilene y
Plastilene
Reciclemos,
Group
nosotros somos
has,
clientes suyos en
we
la
are
parte
your
de
customers
mangas, de
for
decorados
sleeves,
y hoy en día
decoration
existen
sleeves.
muchos
And
sustratos
today we
diferentes
have
y
different
conducción a
substrates
el monomaterial y
and
el creo que todo el
monomaterial, and
monomaterial.
everything
¿Qué
once
tan
has to be
eficiente
monomaterial.
es, por ejemplo,
How
tener
efficient is
un
it to
paso en
have
polipropileno que es
a
incorporado al polipropileno
polypropylene,
para
a
hacer el
glass with
reciclaje y ahora
decoration
en
in
términos de
polypropylene
ecodiseño? Porque ahorita hay
regarding
mucha
recycling and
duda
also eco
en la
design?
industria hablando
Because there's a
sobre
lot of
vean
questions in the
cómo
industry
decorar
talking
sus
about how
productos
can you
para que
decorate
al
your
final
product
en
so
la
that at
cadena
the
de
end in the
reciclaje sea lo
recycling
más
chain it
provechoso
is
posible.
as
Y el tercer
beneficial
punto
as
es
possible.
cómo
And the
Plastilene
third point is
va
how is Plastilene going
a
to
enfocar o qué proyectos tiene
focus, or
o
what are the projects that
posicionamientos
have, or
el
how can
tema
they
de
look
la
at
prohibición
the
de los plásticos
prohibition
biodegradables.
of single-use plastics?
PET,
Regarding PET,
poder recuperar los
being
materiales
able to
termoformados,
recover
nosotros como centro estamos
thermical
buscando
form materials, we
informar
already do
enseñar
that.
unas
We are
capacitaciones
trying to
haciendo con
incentivize the
recicladores
chain
también
by
la capacitación no
training
es solo
the
para material
waste
textil
pickers. In
o
it.
el
That
material
that
líquido,
training is
polietileno y
just for
polipropileno. Estamos
polypropylene
creando
and
PET y
polyethylene
estamos
materials. It
buscando
is
hacer
associated to
PET
PET.
y
We do
buscamos que el
PET, as you
PET
said,
cada vez,
and
digamos,
we look
sea
for
más
PET to
reciclado.
be more and more
También hace
recycled.
mito.
We
El
also
mito que
had that
teníamos con el
myth. The
flexible
myth that
es
we
el
had in the
mismo mito que
flexible
teníamos
material is the
con los
same myth
materiales
that we
termoformados.
had with
Pero
the
ese es el mito que estamos tratando
thermoformed
de cambiar
materials.
y
But that
solo
is
se
the
cambia
myth
con
that we're trying
educación.
to change.
Y por
That
supuesto,
can only
sí se
be
puede
done through
recuperar, sí podemos
education.
modificar la
Yes, it can be
viscosidad para
recovered.
poder
We
hacer
can
nuevamente
modify the
productos.
intrinsic
Ya lo estamos haciendo.
viscosity to do new products, and we are doing that right
Sí,
now.
correcto. O sea,
That's
como dice
right.
Estefan, el reto es la
As
recolección y a
the
eso estamos
challenge is
trabajando.
recollection, and that
En ese
is
punto donde
the,
con las
the,
asociaciones de
the challenge is
recicladores
collection, and
empezamos a
that's what we're
mostrarles que sí
working
es un material que
on.
tiene la
And
base
we're showing the
mismo
waste
valor que la
pickers
botella,
that
porque ya
it
lo
is
estamos
material
haciendo.
that has the same value of a bottle, because
La
we're doing right
segunda,
now.
la segunda
The
está relacionada
second
100% con
question
eco
is
diseño, lo que estamos
100%
haciendo. El vaso de
related to
polipropileno
eco design. A
está
polypropylene
desarrollado con
glass process is developed with something additional, it's always going to affect the recycling channel, thermoforming. If you take that glass and instead of adding polypropylene, you want to add PET, you are like complicating a little bit that process. If you use just one mode material, you simplify the process. What happens is that you generate is a loss of value. If you have a white glass and you add some blue decoration, then in the end you're going to have another glass that may have some decoration in yellow and another one that can have a decoration in green. When you mix them, you have polycolor then, and you cannot use them in the same white glass. But if what you do is you just leave that glass white, you can do whatever it is you want. That is eco design. In terms of designing and modifying the name, but in the same color, you are doing eco design 100%, and you're facilitating the chain for that glass to be used in a greater value piece.
We are working on technologies to remove ink. If the ink is not encapsulated, and if the problem is not so serious, we will get there. We will be able to um, remove that paint or that ink and to be as close as possible to a transparent resin that is being developed. That's not a reality yet. Obviously, we've seen a lot of eco design in Europe, many steps, many yogurts uh, have decoration with a tag that you can remove easily. There is a lot to do, and it's good to work together. There are many projects, but as I said, this is still a project. And the one single-use plastic, I'm sorry, she doesn't have a microphone, so I can't translate what she's asking. The separation of the substrate of the sleeve is easier with that process. So when I talk to my clients and they start discussing eco design and they ask in which substrate do we put the decoration, this question is to understand the recycling industry because we decrease value and we know that in Colombia our clients are not they don't agree with removing colors or putting light colors. Very few do that. Big brands have tons of colors. What is the best for a company such as yours? That the product arrives in one single material, or if I tell the customer the cup is in polypropylene, but the sleeve is in uh, PEP, can we do the decoration in plastic and give an added value to the packaging? I think it's the same answer. Eco design with monomaterial. Even if you have a polypropylene structure and you want to do the decoration with a PEP so that you can separate it because it has greater density, there will be big traces. Those um, traces won't allow you to guarantee 100% separation of the PEP, so you're going to decrease the value of the material. There is no technology that will allow us to remove 100% of the possible PEP traces that can be tied to the material, even if you want to filter it, even if you have an automatic sorter. Those materials will remain there, and that's why those materials have an acceptance grade. But if you do it with one single material, you eliminate that possibility. From our point of view, doing a new material would be better.
Vienen restricciones como la
But now we
certificación,
see restrictions such
por lo
as the
menos
ones you
mantener que
mentioned.
tanto la botella como la etiqueta sean de materiales reciclables
the bottle and the label are, if they are recyclable material, we are moving forward. Ideally, monomaterial, but because of the properties, maybe the client or the system will not allow us to do that unless they are both recyclable materials. My apologies, we need to stop now. You also have your own agendas. I would like to invite you to two things. On your way out, we are going to give you an executive summary of the sustainability report. And at the end, you're going to find a QR code where you will be able to download the whole report. We will be outside to solve those questions that were not solved here. We will be talking to you outside. To close, I would like to say thank you for coming. Thank you for being here. When we started with the sustainability reports, the companies that you work for have been with us throughout this time, so we should add more, build together this path that has been satisfactory, difficult. The legislation issue poses many challenges. Now the next question is what's going to happen with single-use plastic. We try to emphasize a circular economy with responsible legislation. But we need to continue working as a team, that we hear the different parties, that we continue to contribute with enthusiasm and energy so that um, this is a circular process. The goal should be to have a better planet, sustainable economy, sustainable products. Thank you for coming, and we hope that you enjoyed it. Thank you to those who are in the streaming channel. We hope to see you soon.